Hello. Today in the church we celebrate the feast of Corpus Christi, the feast of the body and blood of Christ. That we believe in kind of a distinctive way as Catholics that the bread and the wine truly become the body and blood of Christ at Mass. That not just in a symbolic way, not just in a figurative way, but in a very real way. I think for many and for myself, this can be a tough teaching. That in college, it was something that I really kind of came to question and wonder about. Something that I began to look at more closely and begin to wonder, what do we really believe? It doesn't seem to change from bread and wine. Why do we believe this? And if it doesn't change, then that's a big deal. That it matters whether this is true or false. I began to kind of wonder about it and doubt a little bit. And so I went to talk to one of the priests and kind of to get some help in understanding the teaching, which was very important. I think that a lot of times we let those questions fester and we never really search out a way to kind of learn or understand why it is the church believes what it believes. So the priest that I talked to gave me some good advice, and kind of I think it had two parts. The first involved study. So first to understand what we really even teach. That as the church we don't teach that every aspect of it changes into flesh and blood. That we believe that the interior reality, the substance changes. That it becomes the body and blood of Christ. But that the external aspects, those that we can see, smell, taste, feel, those remain with bread and wine. So that for this, it doesn't change in an exterior sense, and we don't believe that it does, but that the change happens in an invisible way. And the second part complements this, because the second part of study was to understand the belief of the early church, to read some of those first writings. So first to understand what the scriptures themselves said, to realize how forcefully Jesus talks about the true presence in John chapter 6, how St. Paul talks about this as well as something he received from others that he didn't make up himself, emphasizing it in a very strong way. But then to read, for example, Justin Martyr, the way that Justin Martyr very clearly explains, again, this distinction, that we believe that after the consecration, it is no longer common bread and wine, that it truly becomes the body and blood of Christ in its substance. That this is something that is old, that the early Christians believed, that it's really only in modern times that the doubt about the true presence begins, that it becomes seen as just a symbolic or figurative way. But that God doesn't desire just to be with us in a symbolic, figurative, superficial way. He desires to truly be present with us, and this happens in the sacrament. The other aspect, besides study, to learn what the church teaches and what it was the belief of the early church, was prayer. To go to prayer in front of the Eucharist and to really talk to God, to really ask for faith, to understand His presence. And I experienced that. It's maybe a more subjective aspect, but that it was truly a powerful encounter with Christ, to come to change the way that I approached Christ at Mass. And that when I changed that approach, I came to realize the truth of what has been believed for 2,000 years by Christians and still believed by the Catholic Church. That Christ doesn't just remain with us symbolically here in the Eucharist, but with good reason, good understanding, good knowledge, love, and devotion, He is truly present in the form of bread and wine.